Hello everyone. Before we begin, I want to ask you something very honestly. Did you complete that day one properly? Did you go through part one, part two, part three series? And actually, you did make the notes? So, friends, if you did not, right, then I would definitely genuinely suggest please go back, watch day one carefully, take a notepad, and write the important points. Then come back, then come back to the day two. Because this is extremely important. This is a crucial time. March losing and April May are going to start, and this is not the kind of the content you should just listen and I'm making too casually. These are the videos. This is something you need to understand. You need to note down, and you need to implement, apply. Right? Because we are not just talking about the compliance. This is not about we are talking just a simple compliance and we go. We are talking about the financial clarity. And today's topic is something that is almost every business deals with, but very few handles calmly. That is all about the GST reconciliation. Now, let me ask you something, a simple question. When you hear the word GSTR 2P reconciliation, what comes to your mind? Is it comes to mind your clarity? Confusion comes to your mind? Structure come to your mind or stress? Because for most MSMEs, this process is not simple. It feels like too many numbers. About the GST reconciliation I'm talking, it feels like too many numbers, too many mismatches, too many follow-ups, and yes, too many doubts. And the reaction becomes like it's the most complicated that we are talking about the GST reconciliation, and it's like it's the most complicated. So let the accountant handle it. We will see later, right? And that is exactly where the problem starts. It is the most important because the GST reconciliation is not just a technical process. It is a control system. Yes, it tells you one simple things. What tells you one simple thing? Are your purchase records aligned with the reality? Yeah, fit or not? And if this alignment is not there, na, then the impact is not small. It affects your ITC. It affects your ITC. It affects your tax. It affects your compliance, and it affects your confidence in your own numbers. And and when your confidence in number goes down, right, then what happens to the decision making also becomes weak. And when the decisions are weak when the decisions are weak now, business growth slows down quietly. And most dangerous part is here, you don't even realize this immediately basis. It affects slowly. It reflects in the wrong margins. It reflects in the pricing mistakes. It reflects in cash flow pressure. And then what happened? Then suddenly one day you feel something is off, but you don't know what is off. What, right? Now let me simplify. This is for you. No panic, no complexity. Just let's understand the practical understanding in easy language. So let's start with the basics. Okay, for example, you have two sets of data. Um, normally, uh, Normally we have two sets of data. One is the purchase register. This is what you have recorded in your books. The second is the GSTR 2B. GSTR 2B shows this is what the system is showing. The system is showing as your eligible ITC. Now ideally what happened? Now ideally what should happen? Your both data should match. But what happened in reality? What's happening? They almost never match perfectly. Yes, this is reality, and I can say that is okay. Mismatch itself is not the problem. Yes, ignoring mismatch is the main problem, right? So let me explain this with the real scenarios. Let's take the first situation. You have received an invoice. You have recorded in your purchase register in your books. and you are confident that ITC is available. But what happened? When you check your GSTR 2B, right, that entry is not there. That entry is not there. Now, what do most businesses do in this case? They still, they still take the ITC. Their mindset is like, because invoice है, purchase भी genuine है, तो why should not I take the credit, right? But the system is different here. System logic is different, right? Its logic is that if supplier has not filed correctly GSTR or has the delayed filing, that ITC is not reflecting. And in that case, if you take the ITC without proper reflection, you are creating a future risk. You are creating a future risk, not immediately, okay, but later when that risk comes, it comes as a reversal. It comes as a reversal. There will be the interest and yes, questions. And these questions are really not comfortable, friends. Not comfortable, because then you have to explain something. You have to explain something that you assumed that was correct, right? And you know that assumptions becomes a liability. This is reality we are discussing, and you know most importantly, now it creates stress when the notice comes. Right. Second situation is the we come to the second situation. It is the GSTR 2B shows an entry, but your purchase register does not show that entry. What does it means? Which means system is showing that you are eligible for the ITC, but your purchase register have not captured that expense. Right. Let's understand why does this happen. Why does this happen? Is the invoice misplaced, entry missed, and can say the data is not updated, and yes, no proper tracking system, no defined process. Now understand. Now let's understand the what is this impact. See, your expense is lower in books, okay, which means your profit looks higher. If you are not showing the expense in the books, it impacts on the profit, and it's showing your profit is higher. Accordingly, your tax is higher. So, in this case, what you are doing, you are not taking the benefit which you actually deserve, which you actually incurred, and again, you may not even realize it because this is a silent thing. This is a silent, right? Silent loss can say. So now come to the third situation. Entries are there in both, but what happened? Values do not match. GST is incorrect can say, or duplication has happened, or timing difference is there. What happened now? This is where people get frustrated, right? Because they feel इतना डिटेल हम इतना डिटेल हम कौन चेक करे, टाइम ही नहीं है इतना, ऑलरेडी काम इतना पेंडिंग है. That is where panic begins. But I want to tell you something very clearly. GST reconciliation is not about the checking everything perfectly. Yes, it is about the identifying the patterns. It is about the asking where are the major gaps. It is all about the asking the correct question. Where are the major gaps? Where is the risk and where is the correction needed? Where is the leakage? Right? Where is the leakage, and you can see the where is the opportunity. So instead of treating GST reconciliation, like a burden, so treat like a review. Now, let me give you a very simple approach. Simple approach is a no panic method. Now, let's discuss. That's something you can actually apply without the stress and without the confusion. So now, what you do? First, take your GSTR 2B. Second, take your purchase register. Now, instead of trying to match line by line, start with the classification. Divide your data into three parts. One, entries. that are already matching. Second thing is the entries that are showing in your books, but not in your to be. Okay. Third part, and those entries that are in to be but not in your books. Just because of this classification, now this classification itself will give you the clarity, right? Because now you are on the stage, you know where to focus. Now come to the second category. सेकेंड कैटेगरी इज बुक्स में एंट्री है, टू बी में नहीं है. दिस इज वेयर द सप्लायर फॉलो अप इज रिक्वायर्ड immediate basis, because either supplier have not filed the GST returns or they filed the incorrectly. So instead of ignoring those things, you need to communicate with your suppliers, not on casual basis. You need to communicate. You just need to have the structured follow up. You need proper tracking, right? You need the proper reminders. You need escalation if required, because your ITC depends on your supplier compliance. Now come to the third category. That is the third category. मतलब कि 2B में है, आपके बुक्स में नहीं है. इसका मतलब क्या है? This is what happens. This is where your internal system needs the improvement. Right, you need to identify why this was not recorded. Was it a delay? Was it a human error? Was it a system gap? And once you record it, now you correct your expense, and that improves the accuracy. Now see the difference. Same reconciliation, but instead of stress, you have structure, and the structure removes what? Panic. Now let us connect this to the timing. Why April May is the best? Because when there is no pressure, you have time to review, you have time to correct, you have time to communicate. And if you fix these things now, you avoid the year end chaos. But if you delay, mismatches accumulate, and those accumulation creates the confusion, and the confusion creates the panic, and yes, panic creates wrong decisions. Now let me tell you one important mindset shift in last. Stop thinking ये सिर्फ अकाउंटेंट का काम है. We don't have to think like that. So इसी तरह please follow me and please subscribe this channel. We will meet in the part 2. Thank you so much.